The exploration ship Orion Path drifted quietly near the edge of known space. It was a small vessel built for repair and survey work. Inside the engineering section, a young human named Milan worked alone, surrounded by glowing consoles and humming machines. He had been assigned to fix a damaged communication relay that belonged to the United Galactic Network. It was supposed to be a simple task, nothing dangerous. He had done this kind of job many times before. Milan was calm as he checked the relay status on his wrist display. "Just a few more adjustments," he muttered. The relay's beacon blinked green, signaling that repairs were almost complete. He leaned back in his seat and stretched his arms, smiling at the thought of returning to the ship's cafeteria for a hot drink. But before he could finish his thought, the ship's alarm blared. The console lights turned red, and the ship's sensors began flashing unknown readings. Milan frowned and tapped the screen. A massive structure appeared on the radar directly behind him. It had not been there a second ago. He turned his chair toward the viewing window and froze. Floating in the darkness was a gigantic vessel unlike anything he had ever seen. Its surface shone like liquid silver, and strange blue symbols pulsed across its hull. It was easily 10 times larger than the Orion Path. The ship's computer began to speak in a calm, synthetic voice. "Unidentified vessel detected. No matching records found in database. Communication channels active." Milan hesitated. He knew he had entered a region near the aerolith border. The aeroliths were an ancient alien civilization known for their secrecy. No human had ever made peaceful contact with them. The last recorded attempt had ended with silence. He reached for the comms panel. "This is Milan of the United Galactic Network. I come in peace. I am conducting relay repairs and will leave your space soon." There was no reply. The alien vessel remained still, its lights moving like slow waves over a metallic ocean. Then, suddenly, a beam of blue energy shot out from the ship. Striking the Orion Path, Milan tried to move, but the ship shuddered violently. Gravity shifted, and he was lifted from his seat as if pulled by invisible hands. The next thing he knew, everything went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he was no longer inside his ship. He was lying on a smooth floor made of crystal-like material that glowed faintly under him. The air was cool and heavy with a sweet scent. Around him stood tall figures clad in silver armor. Their helmets were sleek, their faces hidden behind glass masks that shimmered with light. Milan sat up slowly, trying not to make any sudden moves. His heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Where am I?" he asked. One of the armored figures stepped forward. Its voice was musical and echoed slightly as it spoke. "You are in the presence of the aerolith Imperial vessel. You will be taken to the Empress. Do not resist." Milan blinked. Empress. He had heard rumors that the aeroliths were ruled by a single monarch, but no one from the United Galaxy had ever seen her. Before he could ask more, 2 guards lifted him gently by the arms and guided him. Down a long hall, the corridors were made of shining metal that seemed alive. Flowing with patterns of light that responded to their movement, the air carried a deep humming sound as if the ship itself was singing. Milan tried to memorize everything, knowing that every scientist back home would have given anything to witness this. They reached a set of massive doors that opened silently when the guards approached. The room beyond was vast, filled with glowing pillars and floating ornaments that looked like stars trapped in glass. At the far end of the hall stood a raised platform. Upon it was a tall throne made of silver crystal. Seated there was the Empress. Her appearance took Milan's breath away. She was humanoid but not human. Her skin glowed faintly like moonlight, and her eyes were silver with faint golden rings inside them. She wore an elegant robe that shimmered as if woven from starlight. Her long white hair floated gently, as if moved by a soft wind that only touched her. The guards pushed Milan to stand before her. He bowed slightly, unsure of what to do. "I am Milan," he said carefully. "Engineer of the United Galactic Network." "I mean no harm." The Empress looked at him. For a long moment she said nothing. The air in the chamber felt heavy. Her eyes widened and the guards exchanged confused glances. Then, to everyone's shock, The Empress stood and slowly knelt before him. Milan froze. He thought he had imagined it, but it was real. The ruler of one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy was kneeling before a human engineer. Her guards gasped, but dared not move. The glowing light in the room dimmed as if even the ship was holding its breath. Milan felt his throat tighten. "What are you doing?" he asked quietly. The Empress bowed her head. At last, she whispered in a soft voice, "The returned one has come back." Milan looked around in confusion. "Returned? I think you have the wrong person. I am just an engineer." The Empress raised her eyes to him again. There was no anger in her face, only deep emotion. "You bear the mark," she said. "It is upon your hands." Milan glanced down. The small scar on his right hand, the one he got years ago from a plasma tool, was glowing faintly blue. He stepped back in shock. How is that possible? The Empress rose slowly, her robe gliding over the floor. She took a step closer, her voice calm and filled with wonder. "Long ago, a being from the stars saved our world from destruction. He was not Aerolith. He came from beyond, and he bore the same mark on his hand. Our records say he promised to return when the stars aligned once more." Milan's mind raced. He tried to think logically, but nothing made sense. "I think there is a mistake. I don't know your history. I'm just a man from Earth." Her expression softened. "Earth," she repeated, tasting the word as if it was sacred. That was his home too. The words echoed in his mind. He stared at her, trying to read her expression, but it was filled with sincerity. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside something strange stirred. Before he could respond, the doors behind them opened again. A group of alien officials entered the hall. Their robes were dark, and they carried silver staffs. They stopped at the sight of the Empress kneeling before Milan. The leader, an older Aerolith, with golden markings on his skin, spoke in a tense voice. "Your Majesty, this cannot be. You kneel before an off-worlder." The Empress straightened, but her voice remained steady. "He is no ordinary visitor. The prophecy has been fulfilled." The officials murmured in disbelief. The older one frowned. "The prophecy was a legend. We cannot allow ancient myths to cloud judgment. This human may be dangerous." Milan raised his hands. "Wait, I'm not dangerous. I didn't mean to come here. My ship was pulled in by your beam." The hall grew quiet. The Empress looked at him again, then turned to the officials. "He will not be harmed. He will stay under my protection." The officials bowed reluctantly, their expressions uncertain. The Empress motioned for the guards to take Milan to the guest quarters. Before he left, she spoke again, her voice softer this time. "You have questions, human. I will answer them when you are ready." Milan nodded slowly. His thoughts were a storm. As he followed the guards through the glowing corridors, he tried to make sense of what had happened. Why had she called him the returned one? Why did she know about Earth? And why did his scar glow like that? The quarters they gave him were more beautiful than any place he had seen. The walls shimmered with soft light, and the air was warm and calm. He sat down on the smooth bed, staring at his hand. The glow had faded, but he could still feel a faint warmth under the skin. He thought about the Empress's eyes. They were not cold or alien. There had been recognition in them, as if she had known him all her life. He remembered her words again. At last, the returned one has come back. He whispered to himself, "What if she's right? What if humans were here before?" The idea sounded impossible, yet he could not shake it off. He knew one thing for sure. Whatever had just begun inside that alien ship was bigger than anything he had ever faced. And somewhere deep inside, a strange feeling told him that the Empress's kneeling was not a mistake. It was a beginning. When Milan woke up, the alien lights in his room glowed softly like morning sunlight. The walls shifted color from pale blue to gold, as if the room was alive. For a few seconds, he thought it had all been a dream. Then he saw the silver mark on his wrist, faint, but still there. The memory of the Empress kneeling before him came back clearly. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "I have to understand what is happening," he whispered to himself. He stood and looked around. The air was light and carried a faint floral scent. The room had no visible doors, but when he approached the wall, it parted smoothly, forming an open archway. A tall guard waited outside, wearing silver armor that reflected the soft lights of the hallway. The guard's face was covered by a smooth mask. "The Empress requests your presence," the guard said in a calm voice. Milan nodded. "Lead the way." They walked through long corridors filled with patterns of light that shifted like flowing rivers. The architecture was strange but beautiful. It felt more like walking through a living creature than a machine. He noticed symbols carved along the walls, glowing faintly. They seemed to tell stories, though he could not understand them. As they walked, the guard spoke again. "Do you know why the Empress called you the Returned One?" Milan shook his head. "No, I have no idea. I think she made a mistake." The guard was silent for a moment. "Our records speak of a human who once came to our world in ancient times. He brought wisdom and technology that saved our people. When he left, he said he would return when the stars aligned again." "You resemble him," Milan frowned. "That can't be true. Humans didn't even have space travel that long ago. Maybe time does not move the same way for all worlds," the guard said quietly. They reached a wide chamber filled with pillars of light. The Empress stood near the center, surrounded by glowing symbols floating in the air. She turned as Milan entered. Her expression was calm but filled with curiosity. "Welcome, Milan of Earth," she said. Her voice was soft, yet carried power. "Did you rest well?" Milan nodded politely. "Yes, thank you. But I need answers." The Empress gestured toward a floating platform. "Then you shall have them. Come." He stepped onto the platform beside her. It rose slowly into the air, taking them to a balcony overlooking a vast city inside the massive ship. Towers of silver reached high, connected by bridges of light. Flying craft moved smoothly between them like shining birds. It was breathtaking. The Empress watched his reaction with a small smile. "You are seeing the heart of the Aerolith Empire. Few outsiders have ever stood here." "It's beautiful," Milan said honestly. "But why am I here? Why do you believe I'm this returned one?" The Empress turned toward him. "Because you carry the same mark as the one who saved us. Because our ancient memory crystals react to your presence. And because the energy of your mind vibrates in the same pattern as his." Milan raised his brow. "You can measure the energy of someone's mind?" She nodded. "Every living being has a frequency. Yours matches that of our lost guardian." He looked down at his hand again. The small scar shimmered faintly. "I can't explain this. Maybe it's a coincidence." The Empress shook her head. "There are no coincidences in the flow of the cosmos." She motioned for him to follow her to a nearby doorway. Inside was a vast room filled with holographic murals. The walls displayed moving images of a war long ago. Cities were burning and skies were filled with strange dark ships. In the middle of the battle, a single human stood, holding a sphere of light. The light spread outward, destroying the dark fleet and saving the planet. Milan stared at the figure. The face looked exactly like his. He stepped closer, unable to believe what he was seeing. "That's impossible," the Empress approached beside him. "This recording is 10,000 cycles old. It shows our history. When the darkness came, our people were dying. The human who appeared gave us hope and knowledge. He taught us how to channel the energy of the stars to rebuild our world. He told us his name was Melon." Milan froze. "Melon. Yes," she said softly. "Does that sound familiar?" He shook his head slowly. "It sounds like my name, but it's not me. I'm just an engineer. I fix machines. I'm not a hero or some kind of ancient teacher." The Empress looked at him thoughtfully. "Perhaps you do not remember, because your spirit has taken a new form. We believe in cycles of return. Energy never dies. It transforms." Milan tried to stay rational, but his heart was pounding. He could not stop looking at the ancient image. Every detail of that man's face was his own. He wanted to deny it, yet something deep inside him felt an echo of recognition. He turned toward her. "If I really was that person, why don't I remember anything?" The Empress smiled faintly. Memories of other lives are hidden by the veil of birth. Only great energy or deep connection can awaken them. Before Milan could respond, a new figure entered the room. It was an elder Aerolith wearing golden robes. His eyes glowed faintly with wisdom. He bowed to the Empress, then looked at Milan. "Your Majesty," he said, "the Council has learned of the human's presence. They question your decision to bring him aboard. Some believe he is a threat." The Empress's eyes hardened slightly. "He is under my protection. No harm will come to him." The elder bowed again, but looked uneasy. "Forgive me, Empress, but the Council fears what his arrival might mean. The prophecy of the returned one speaks not only of hope, but also of great change. And many are afraid of change." Milan watched silently, realizing that even among the Aeroliths, power and fear existed. The Empress turned back to him. "You see, Milan, your coming has stirred old beliefs. Some will see you as a savior. Others will see you as danger." Milan sighed. "That's the story of humanity too." The Empress looked at him curiously. "Your people face such divisions as well?" He nodded. "Always. Fear of what is different. Doubt in what cannot be explained." She studied him for a moment. "Then perhaps our kinds are not so different." They walked together through another passage filled with ancient carvings. Each wall told a piece of the Aerolith story. She showed him a mural depicting the creation of their world. Among the shining figures, a human shape appeared again, holding a light that formed the stars. Milan stopped. "That figure again. Always human." The Empress nodded. "Our records say that the first light, the energy that gave birth to our civilization, came from a world called Earth. It means your people may have once walked among the stars, long before our time." Milan stared at her in disbelief. "That can't be true. Humanity only recently learned to travel between systems." She smiled gently. "History hides many secrets. Perhaps you are meant to uncover them." They entered another chamber. In the center stood a crystal pillar, surrounded by flowing energy. The Empress touched the surface, and the room filled with moving images of galaxies. "This is the memory core," she said. "It stores all our history. It is alive with knowledge." Milan approached carefully. As he raised his hand, the crystal pulsed and responded to his presence. The energy flowed from the pillar to his fingers, wrapping his hand in soft light. The images shifted rapidly until one scene froze. It showed the ancient human, Milan, standing beside an Aerolith woman who looked exactly like the Empress. Milan stepped back, stunned. "That's you," she nodded slowly. "It is my ancestor. The first Empress. Our blood carries her memory." He looked again at the glowing image. "So your ancestor and that human were together?" "Yes," she said. She called him the Light Bearer. When he vanished, she swore that their bond would return across time. "Perhaps that bond has brought you here." Milan did not know what to say. His mind was a storm of disbelief and wonder. The Empress turned toward him, her voice softer now. "Do you feel it, Milan? The pull of something greater than logic?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I feel something. I don't understand it, but it's there." She smiled. "That is enough for now. Understanding comes with time." Faint sound interrupted their silence. A holographic symbol appeared in the air, glowing red. The Empress touched it, and a voice spoke in the Aerolith language. Milan could not understand the words, but her expression darkened. "The Council has sent observers," she said quietly. "They wish to question you." Milan frowned. "Am I in trouble?" "You are not," she said, "but they will test you. They will want proof of who you are, and they will not be kind." He took a breath. "Then I'll face them." The Empress looked at him with quiet pride. "You speak like the one before you." As they left the memory core, Milan felt both fear and determination. Whatever truth lay behind the prophecy, he was now part of it. The Empress walked beside him, graceful and calm. When they reached the main hall again, alien officials were already waiting. Their eyes glowed faintly with suspicion. The leader stepped forward. "Human," he said sharply, "we will know what you are." The Empress raised her hand. "He is under my command. You will speak with respect." The hall fell silent. Milan felt the tension rise like static in the air. He looked up at the shining ceiling and wondered how his quiet life as an engineer had turned into this. He had come to fix a machine, but now he had become part of a legend that might change too, civilizations forever. And though he did not yet believe in destiny, a small voice deep inside him whispered that the Empress's faith in him was not misplaced. Something was waiting to be discovered, and he was already walking the path toward it. The grand hall of the aerolith vessel was filled with light when Milan entered with the Empress. The shining symbols on the walls moved like waves, reflecting the tension in the air. The council stood at the far end of the chamber, 12 members dressed in dark robes, trimmed with gold. Their expressions were cold and serious. Milan tried to stand tall, though his heart was racing. He had never faced anything like this before. The Empress walked beside him with calm grace. Her silver robe glowed faintly, as if light itself respected her. The head of the council, Elder Varen, stepped forward. His voice echoed through the hall. "Human, you have appeared among us, claiming nothing, yet our Empress believes you are the returned one. If you are truly what she says, you will prove it." Milan shook his head. "I never claimed to be anything. I am just an engineer. I did not come here on purpose." Varen raised his hand. "Then let truth decide. The test will speak for you." The Empress turned slightly toward him. "This is not necessary. The proof already exists in the reaction of the memory core." Varen's tone remained firm. "The council must be certain. The prophecy is not a game. If he fails the test, it could bring unrest among our people." Milan took a breath. "I will take the test. Whatever it is," the Empress gave him a concerned look. "It can be dangerous. The last one who faced the sphere of echoes never returned." Milan tried to smile faintly. "Then I will be careful. I want to understand the truth too." Varen motioned to 2 guards. "Bring him to the sanctum." They guided Milan through tall doors into a vast circular chamber. The walls were covered in ancient carvings that shimmered like fire. In the center stood a large orb floating above a stone platform. It was transparent, filled with swirling energy like a storm inside glass. "This is the sphere of echoes," Varen said. "It shows the truth hidden in time. Only one connected to the prophecy can awaken it without destruction." Milan stepped closer. The air around the orb was heavy, almost alive. He could feel energy brushing against his skin. The Empress watched silently from the edge of the chamber. Her eyes were filled with worry. Varen spoke again. "Place your hand upon it. If it accepts you, the truth will be revealed. If it rejects you, it will end your deception." Milan hesitated for only a moment. Then he reached forward and touched the surface. The instant his fingers met the orb, a surge of light filled the room. The ground trembled and wind rushed around him. His mind exploded with visions. He saw stars being born and worlds forming from fire. He saw an ancient war between light and darkness, and he saw himself standing on an alien world surrounded by aeroliths, holding a glowing sphere that matched the one before him. A voice echoed in his mind, calm and deep. "You are the bearer of the light. You have returned to fulfill what was promised." Milan gasped. The orb lifted higher, spinning faster. The images changed again. He saw the same human figure from the murals, leading armies of light against a dark enemy. He saw the Empress's ancestor beside him, her hand in his. Then the scene changed. The man was sealing the sphere inside a great temple. His final words echoed through the chamber. "When the stars align again, my spirit will return to guide the children of light." The energy burst outward in a flash. Milan fell to his knees as the room calmed. The orb floated gently back into place, glowing brighter than before. Silence filled the chamber. Every member of the council stared at him in shock. The Empress ran forward and helped him stand. "Milan," she said softly, "are you all right?" He nodded weakly. "I saw everything. I saw him. I saw you." Varen's voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "The sphere has accepted him. It has never awakened since the time of the first light. The prophecy is true." The other council members whispered among themselves. Some bowed their heads. Others looked uncertain. The Empress turned to face them. "You see now? He is not an intruder. He is the one our ancestors spoke of. Aaron hesitated before nodding slowly. It seems so. But if he truly carries this legacy, then his presence will bring change. The Empire is not ready for change. The Empress's voice grew firm. Change is the path of growth. If our people fear it, then they have forgotten who we are. Varen bowed slightly. We will inform the people of this discovery. But be cautious, Empress. The prophecy also speaks of trials. Darkness always follows the return of the light. After the council left, Milan sat on the edge of the platform, breathing heavily. His mind was full of images that did not belong to him yet felt familiar. The Empress knelt beside him. You did what no other could, she said quietly. The sphere has chosen you. He looked at her. I don't understand how. I am not that man. I don't even believe in destiny. She smiled gently. Perhaps belief is not required. The stars remember even when we do not. Milan lowered his head. When I touched the sphere, I saw you too. Or maybe your ancestor. You were there beside him. The Empress nodded. Our spirits are bound through time. It is said the Lightbearer and the first Empress were linked by the same energy that created our world. Milan thought for a moment. Then maybe that link brought me here. She looked into his eyes. Maybe it did. For a moment, they stood in silence. The faint hum of the ship filled the air. Milan felt a strange calm within him, as if something deep inside had awakened. Suddenly, a loud alarm broke the quiet. The walls flashed red, and a metallic voice echoed through the hall. Warning. Unknown ships detected. Approaching fast. The Empress turned sharply. Intruders. She touched her wrist device. Command deck report, a voice answered, full of static. A fleet of unknown design has entered the perimeter. They are broadcasting no signals. They are armed. The Empress looked at Milan. You must come with me. They ran through the corridors as guards rushed past them. The ship vibrated as energy shields activated. Through the large window ahead, Milan could see flashes of light in the distance. The alien fleet was massive, dark, and covered in red markings. Who are they? He asked. The Empress's tone was grave. They are the Vornic Dominion, our oldest enemies. They vanished long ago. Their return was foretold to happen when the Lightbearer reappeared. Milan stared in disbelief. So they came because of me? She shook her head. Not because of you. Because the balance has shifted. When light awakens, darkness follows. They reached the command deck. Holographic displays showed the battle forming outside. The Aerolith fleet was preparing defenses. But the Vornic ships were more numerous. Varun's face appeared on one of the screens. Empress, the enemy demands surrender. They say the one you call the returned one belongs to them. Milan's stomach tightened. They know about me. The Empress's voice was calm but strong. Tell them that he belongs to no one. Tell them the Aerolith Empire stands firm. The communication ended, and she turned to Milan. You see now why your return matters. The universe moves in cycles. The same war that ended long ago is beginning again. He clenched his fists. Then I have to help. She looked at him seriously. You do not have to fight. You are not trained for war. He shook his head. Maybe not, but I can fix things. I can help your systems. I am an engineer, remember? The Empress paused, then smiled faintly. Then come. The energy cores need stabilizing. You may be the only one who can handle them now. They hurried to the engine section, where bright streams of energy pulsed between giant crystals. Some conduits were overloading due to the strain of battle. Milan studied the control panels. Though the language was alien, he could understand the system through instinct. It was as if his hands remembered how to work with it. He moved quickly, adjusting settings and rerouting power. The Empress watched in awe as the energy stabilized. You have done this before, she whispered. Maybe in another life. He replied with a small smile. The ship steadied, and outside the shields brightened. The Aerolith fleet fired volleys of light that broke through the enemy lines. For a moment, hope filled the air. But then a massive explosion shook the deck. One of the outer defense ships was destroyed. Milan stumbled but caught himself. They are too many. The Empress looked at him. Then we must use the ancient power, the one sealed within the sphere. He stared at her. Can we control it? She hesitated. Only the light bearer could. But the sphere recognizes you. Milan's mind raced. He remembered the visions. The man in the past had used the sphere's energy to drive back the darkness. He realized that same energy might save them now. Let's do it, he said. Together, they returned to the sanctum. The sphere floated quietly, glowing faintly. Milan approached it again. I do not know if I can do this, he said softly. The Empress stood beside him. You are not alone. The light answers to both of us. He placed his hands on the sphere. The energy flared, brighter than before. Streams of light flowed through the ship, spreading to every system. The entire vessel glowed like a star. The enemy ship stopped advancing as sensors overloaded from the sudden burst. Milan felt power rush through him, filling every part of his body. He heard the same voice again. Protect them. The light is yours. Outside, the aerolith fleet fired once more, and this time the light struck with the strength of a sun. The enemy lines broke and scattered. The remaining ships fled into the dark. When the energy faded, Milan fell to his knees, exhausted. The Empress knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. You have done it, she said softly. The prophecy lives again. He looked up at her, breathing heavily. It was not just me. It was both of us. The calm after the battle lasted only a few hours. Milan sat in the Empress's private chamber, his hands still tingling from the energy of the sphere. The soft light from the walls bathed the room in gold and blue, but he could not relax. The visions from the sphere had shown him not just victory, but secrets hidden deep within the aerolith empire, secrets that made his stomach twist. The Empress Orlin entered quietly. Her robe shimmered faintly, catching the soft light. Are you all right? She asked gently. Milan nodded slowly. Physically, yes. But the visions. They showed more than I expected. Something is wrong inside the Empire. Orlin's face darkened slightly. You are correct. Not all of my people accept what has happened. Some fear the prophecy, and some see you as a threat. He frowned. Threat? I am not a soldier. I don't want to take anyone's place or power. I only want to understand. You are the returned one. That alone brings change. Some will embrace it. Others will resist it. I wish there was another way, but this is the path we must walk together. Before Milan could respond, a loud alarm sounded. The walls flashed red. Guards ran past the chamber doors, shouting orders in a language he did not understand. The High Council, Orlin said, they have discovered something. They will act to challenge us. Milan's heart raced. What do they want? They want to capture you, she replied, and perhaps to remove me as Empress for defying them. He stood quickly. Then we cannot wait. We need to act before they strike. She nodded. Follow me. They ran through the corridors, moving faster than Milan thought possible. The ship hummed beneath their feet as they passed energy conduits and floating platforms. Guards bowed or stepped aside, recognizing the Empress's authority, but Milan noticed worried looks in their eyes. Even her own people were uneasy. They reached a hidden elevator that took them to the lower levels of the ship. The chamber opened into a vast hall filled with machinery and glowing energy cores. This was the heart of the aerolith ship, the main power hub here, Orlin said, gesturing to a control panel. We can prepare a safe route for us and loyal forces to leave, but it must be done quickly. The Council will not hesitate to attack. Milan moved to the panel. The controls were complex, but he quickly adapted. Remembering the principles of energy flow he had used on Earth and during the battle earlier, streams of blue light shifted as he adjusted the conduits. Your skill amazes me, Orlin said softly. I never imagined that a human could work so efficiently with aerolith energy systems. Milan smiled faintly. I just follow the logic. Energy is energy. It does not care what species works with it. Orlin's expression softened. Perhaps that is why you were chosen. Because you can see beyond differences. Suddenly, a warning light blinked on the main console. They are sending forces, she said. Small units are moving toward the lower decks. They want to cut off access to the escape route. Milan's mind raced. We can stop them if we control the power cores. If I redirect energy to the defense grids, it will slow them down. Orlin nodded. Do it quickly. He worked rapidly, rerouting energy streams to the ship's outer shields. The lights flared as the cores hummed with higher intensity. Outside, through the large observation window, he could see armored ships moving down the corridors. They were smaller than the main fleet, but fast and dangerous. They are coming, Orlin said, her voice calm but tense. We cannot hold them forever. Milan adjusted a conduit. Sparks flew, and a section of the floor trembled. He almost lost his balance but caught himself. The energy will hold for a few minutes. That is all. She stepped closer. Then we must use this time to reach the Chamber of Secrets. There we will find what the Council wants hidden. Milan frowned. Secrets? What are you talking about? The Council does not follow the truth of our history, she said. They fear the knowledge stored in the chamber. If they control it, they could rewrite the past and shape the Empire to serve themselves. We cannot allow that. He nodded, understanding the urgency. Then, let's move. They ran through the twisting corridors, evading small groups of loyalist and rebel soldiers. Milan noticed that some of the guards hesitated, uncertain whether to follow orders or protect the Empress. Orlin's presence commanded loyalty, but fear ran deep. Finally, they reached a massive set of doors, covered in symbols and seals. A faint blue light radiated from the cracks between the panels. This is it, Orlin said. The Chamber of Secrets. Only those of the bloodline or the returned one may enter. Milan glanced at her. Then it is lucky I am here. She smiled faintly. Or destined. The sphere chose you for this reason. Orlin extended her hand toward the doors. The seals glowed, then dissolved into light. The massive panels slid apart, revealing a chamber that seemed older than time itself. The walls were filled with floating crystals, each containing glowing images. Holograms of battles, rulers, and unknown planets drifted within the prisms. Milan stepped inside, awed. This is incredible, he whispered. It is like history itself is alive.
Orlin nodded.
The Council wishes to control this knowledge, to manipulate our people, but the truth must remain free. That is why you are here. Only you can awaken the memories fully. Milan walked among the crystals, running his hands along their surfaces. One of them pulsed as he approached. A vision appeared, a human standing beside an aerolith woman, holding the sphere of echoes. The image mirrored the visions he had seen earlier, but this one had details he had never noticed. Do you see it? Orlin asked. That is the moment our bond was formed. That is why I knelt before you. Milan stared at the crystal. It was not submission. It was respect, recognition. She nodded. The light bearer was always connected to our people. When you appeared, it awakened that bond again. Before he could speak further, the doors of the chamber shook. The Council's enforcers were trying to break in. They are close, Orlin said. We must act now. She led him to the central crystal, larger than the others. It glowed with a soft white light. Place your hand here, she instructed. It will reveal the full memory. But it is dangerous. Only the returned one can survive the energy. Milan took a deep breath and placed his hand on the crystal. The energy pulsed through him immediately. He felt a warmth that spread from his hand to his chest, then through his entire body. Images filled his mind faster than he could process. He saw the airliths building their civilization, guided by the human who had once appeared. He saw battles against darkness, betrayals, and victories. He saw the first Empress standing beside the human, teaching, learning, and growing with him. Then he saw a darker vision. The High Council plotting behind closed doors, planning to overthrow Orlin and control the Empire with their own chosen human figure. Their faces were cold, their intentions clear. He gasped and pulled back slightly. They are planning something. They want to replace you and control the Empire. Orlin's eyes narrowed. I feared as much. The chamber does not lie. We must move quickly before they act. Milan looked at the central crystal. I think I understand now. My role is not only to awaken history, but to prevent its misuse. The council cannot control the truth if we act first. She nodded. Then we will expose the knowledge to all loyal Arliths. The people must see the truth before the council can manipulate it. The alarms continued. But Milan and Orlin worked together, channeling energy from the central crystal to project the images throughout the ship. Holograms appeared in public chambers, showing the true history of the Arliths and the human who had guided them. The council's enforcers tried to stop them, but the people who witnessed the projections paused. They saw the truth of their origins and the connection between humans and Arliths. Whispers of awe and disbelief spread rapidly. Milan stood beside Orlin, exhausted but determined. They cannot fight against everyone seeing the truth. She placed a hand on his arm. The battle is not over. But today, we have shifted the balance. The council cannot act without being exposed. Through the corridors and halls, the truth spread. The light of history, once hidden, now shone brightly for all to see. The prophecy of the returned one was no longer a secret. Milan realized that being the returned one was not about power or destiny alone. It was about protecting knowledge, guiding the empire, and ensuring that truth prevailed over fear and ambition. As he looked out over the glowing city of the Arlith vessel, he felt a sense of purpose he had never known. The past had awakened within him, and the future depended on what he and Orlin did next. But in the distance, he could sense that challenges were still coming. The council would not give up easily, and there were secrets deeper than even the chamber had revealed. Milan took a deep breath and prepared himself. Whatever came next, he would face it with courage and clarity. The ship was alive with light and energy, but Milan felt a tension that he could not ignore. The council's enforcers were still moving in small groups through the corridors, trying to regain control. Even though the truth of the chamber had been revealed, some members of the Arlith Empire were stubborn. Clinging to fear and old loyalty, Milan and Empress Orlin stood on the balcony overlooking the central city. The glowing towers stretched high into the upper hull of the vessel. The people below had gathered in open chambers, watching the floating images of the ancient human and the first Empress. Whispers of awe and excitement moved like waves through the population. They are listening, Milan said. The people see the truth. It is not just about us anymore, Orlin nodded. Yes, knowledge is power, but shared knowledge is freedom. The council cannot act openly without facing the people's awareness. Before they could speak further, a shadow fell across the balcony. Varen, the head of the council, appeared with a small group of loyal enforcers. His golden eyes glowed with anger. Empress, you have defied the council. The human claims what is not his right. This ends now, Milan stepped forward. I do not claim anything. I only protect the truth. You are the ones hiding it. Varan's voice was sharp. The empire requires control. Without order, we fall to chaos. Orlin raised her hand, and a protective energy shield formed around them. Control without truth is tyranny. You would undo centuries of wisdom and bind our people to lies. Varen sneered. Then we will remove you both. Milan felt fear, but it was replaced by a growing certainty. He remembered the visions from the Sphere of Echoes, the strength of the human who had once protected the Arliths, and the bond he shared with Orlin. He reached into the energy flowing through the ship and felt the rhythm of the cores respond to him. You do not understand, he said, his voice calm but firm. I am not your enemy, but I am connected to something greater than any one of us. If you strike, you will face forces you cannot control. Varan raised his staff, preparing to attack, but Milan placed his hands together and focused. Streams of light burst from him, surrounding the balcony and forming glowing pillars. The enforcers hesitated, shields raising instinctively. Orlin's eyes widened. You are channeling the sphere's energy directly? Milan nodded. I think I can. It is not mine alone. It flows with you and the people who believe in truth. The pillars of light expanded, creating a dome over the city below. Outside, the energy spread into the main population chambers, where citizens watched the glowing images and felt the awakening power. Their whispers turned to shouts of support. Loyalty shifted from the council toward the Empress and the human who stood beside her. Varen's expression darkened. This cannot be. It is impossible. You have underestimated the power of shared truth, Milan said. Your fear blinds you. The Empire belongs to all its people, not just the council. The enforcers lowered their weapons, confused and fearful of the light surrounding them. Varen tried one last attempt to strike, but the energy pillars separated him from the balcony. He glared but could not break through the protective field. Orlin stepped closer to Milan. The bond between us is stronger than any fear they have. The prophecy is real. You are truly the returned one. Milan took a deep breath, feeling the warmth and energy pulsing through him. Then we finish this together. Not with force, but with revelation. He focused again, connecting with the central crystal in the Chamber of Secrets. The visions appeared once more, but this time they were clearer, showing a complete picture of the ancient human, the first Empress, and the origins of the Aerolith Empire. The citizens below could now see the story in full. He spoke aloud, his voice carrying through the ship and amplified by the energy streams. Look at your history. The light has always guided you. The human who came before saved you from darkness. That knowledge is not mine to claim. It belongs to you, the people of the Aerolith Empire. Do not let fear decide your path. Choose wisdom and unity instead. The energy pillars pulsed in harmony with his words. Citizens raised their hands in support, and the dome of light brightened, showing the strength of unity. Even some of the council members who had resisted began to bow, realizing that truth could not be suppressed. Varen's expression twisted with rage and disbelief. This cannot stand. Orlin stepped forward. It already has. The Empire belongs to its people. The darkness you tried to wield has no place here. Milan reached out and touched her hand. The energy flowed between them, strengthening the dome and stabilizing the city. Together, they channeled the power not to destroy, but to protect and illuminate. The enforcers lowered their weapons completely, and the remaining members of the council retreated, knowing they could not oppose the combined force of truth, people's support, and the energy of the sphere. Milan took a deep breath. It is done. The threat is over. But we must continue to guide the Empire carefully. Orlin smiled at him. You have done more than anyone could have imagined. You have awakened the past and protected the future. He looked down at his hands, still glowing faintly from the sphere's energy. I never wanted to be a legend. I only wanted to understand. But I see now that this is bigger than me, bigger than any one person. She placed a hand on his shoulder. That is why you were chosen. The Lightbearer and the Empress together can guide the Empire toward balance. You do not need to claim power. You need only to protect and teach. Milan nodded, feeling a sense of calm he had never known. The visions from the sphere had shown him that courage, wisdom, and unity were more important than strength alone. Outside, the city shimmered in light. Citizens celebrated quietly, understanding the truth and the bonds that had been restored. The energy pillars faded slowly, leaving behind a soft glow in the city. Orlin turned to him. Now, the next step begins. The Empire must be rebuilt with truth at its core. You will be part of that journey. Milan looked out over the glowing towers, feeling a sense of belonging he had never expected. Then I will help. Not as a ruler, but as a guide. As the one who has returned to protect the light. She nodded. That is all I could ask. As they walked together through the city, Milan realized that the Aerolith people were not so different from humans. Fear, hope, and the desire for truth were universal. And though the prophecy had brought him here, it was the choices he made now that would define the future. In the days that followed, Milan and Orline worked to restore balance within the Empire. The Chamber of Secrets became a place of learning for all, where citizens could witness history and understand the truth of their civilization. The remaining council members who had resisted were shown mercy, but guided toward. Understanding the light, Milan's engineering skills proved invaluable. He helped repair and improve energy systems, Teach the people about the sphere's energy and bridge the gap between human logic and aerolith technology. With every step, he felt more connected to the ancient human who had walked this path before him. One evening, as the twin moons of a nearby star system cast soft light through the observation windows, Milan stood beside Orlin once more. "You changed everything," he said softly. She smiled. "No, you changed everything. I only guided the path. The prophecy chose you because you were willing to act. That is what makes the returned one different from any hero in history. You understand responsibility." Milan looked at her. "I still do not understand everything. The visions were too vast. But I think I understand why you knelt before me. It was not because I was powerful. It was because you recognized the light, the bond, the purpose." Orlin nodded. "Exactly. Respect for what was lost and hope for what can be. That is why you are here." He took a deep breath. "Then I will not waste this chance. I will learn, guide, and protect. For the Empire, for the truth, and for the light." She extended her hand and he took it. Together they looked out over the city, now calm, peaceful, and filled with hope. The stars beyond the ship glowed brighter than ever, as if welcoming the return of the light-bearer. Milan smiled faintly. For the first time, he felt a sense of belonging, a connection to something greater than himself. The past, the present, and the future had come together in that moment. And though challenges would come again, he knew that with courage, wisdom, and the bond he shared with Orlin, they could face anything. The sphere had awakened him. The Empire had accepted the truth, and the Lightbearer had returned as the ship sailed through the quiet expanse of space. Milan felt a calm certainty settle within him. This was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter for him, for Orlin. And for the people of the Aerolith Empire, the prophecy had been fulfilled. But the real journey had just begun, and for the first time, Milan understood why the Empress had knelt before him. It was not fear, not submission. It was the recognition of light, hope, and the power of a bond that transcended time itself. He smiled as he whispered quietly, "Then I am ready." The stars shone around them, and the Aerolith Empire glowed like a beacon in the dark, a symbol of unity, courage, and the enduring light that could never be extinguished.